Hey everyone, welcome to Garden Fork Radio. It's the DIY, the Eclectic DIY show featuring me and my good friend Rick. Hey, welcome, sir.
Good morning, Eric. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. It's raining, kind of cloudy, rainy here, so perfect day to be in the office.
Oh, well, it's beautiful and sunshiny out here, so I've been in the yard all morning and walking dogs and doing all kinds of interesting stuff.
You have an interesting life.
Well, occasionally. It's a lot of fun, I'll tell you that.
It's a lot of fun following you on Twitter. Not all of it is repeatable here, but
yeah. Well, I read a lot, and so I pass things on that I read.
I thought it was funny that it's become like an internet meme, but just the picture of the iceberg off the Newfoundland coast.
Wasn't that amazing? I thought that was so cool. I mean, it's. I think what they say, like 100 feet high or something. And it just looked like a building flowing past the coast, and you could almost reach out and touch it from the shoreline. Yeah,
it just kind of looked like, to me, it looked like it belonged there. You know, it was just like, oh yeah, there's an iceberg. You know.
Well, they've had a huge Iceberg Swarm this season. And I think I read like there are 600 icebergs that are already swarming in the shipping channels up on the Newfoundland coast. And the average for any given year is about 680. So already they're, early in the year, they're surpassing that. This is the same kind of conditions. By the way, we've just passed April 15th. It's tax day, of course, but it's also the anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic. And it's the same kind of iceberg swarm that they were having during that period. And that one worked out not so good. Now we have ice patrols go by and stick or shoot flags with transponders and radio beacons and stuff into these icebergs so they can track them by satellite, the really big ones. And so they know where they are and what they're doing.
When I brought that up, I just thought you might say, yeah, gee whiz, but instead we got all this information.
Well, the United States Navy P-3s, the big 4-engine reconnaissance aircraft.
Which I've been on, actually.
Have you? How'd you get on board a P-3?
Well, I sat in it. My cousin was a pilot, and we got to look in his plane.
Oh, how neat. Spent many an hour in those things. But there, it's, they kind of help with early on in the ice tracking business. But later we got our own ice patrols, international ice patrols, particularly the Canadians. And so you can flip on certain radar or radio equipment and radar equipment and track these icebergs as they move through the shipping area. It allows them to do what they call cutting the corner on a great circle route. You don't sail directly between Northampton and New York City. It goes north in kind of an arc, which is actually the most direct route. But then you can also kind of what they call cut the corner. And it's when they cut the corner up there around Newfoundland and off Nova Scotia that they really run into these iceberg problems. But it's worth it because it saves a few dollars in oil.
Wow. It's called bunker oil, by the way.
Bunker oil, yeah. Although, do you know you cannot use bunker oil within the territorial limits of the United States anymore. You have to switch to a cleaner oil before you enter our waters.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. They started that in California, ships coming into the port of Long Island, and were just smoking the city. But they finally got it to, I don't know if it's a federal law or a regulation or whatever, but it keeps people, and also they have to reduce speed now coming into particularly northeastern ports because of the whales crossing the area. So they not ramming whales anymore, or not as much.
Wow. So this leads us to our next topic is my apology to Rick, my public apology to Rick.
Oh, for what, my friend?
Well, one or two podcasts ago, we were talking about podcasts we like, and you talked about a podcast about containers, and I made fun of you.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, well, I listened to one of the podcasts.
And was it pretty good?
It was really good.
It wasn't it good?
There's a podcast called 99% Design,
Right.
which is out of Berkeley, California, and it's really good. And that fella sometimes will represent stuff he finds that he thinks needs a wider audience. He will put on his podcast. And one episode, a condensed episode of the container shipping podcast was on there. And the container shipping podcast is a limited edition. It's an 8-episode podcast, I think. And it did a deep dive, and I found it very interesting. And clearly the guy has done his research. I thought it was more like a geeky, there's a ship with a container,
No. It's the whole package and how it affects the world and our transportation systems and everything. So it's a fascinating series, and it's just called Containers.
Well, I was once again humbled by Rick. So.
Oh dear! Don't be humbled by me. How are the bees going?
I don't want to talk about it. So,
well, I don't want to talk too much about it here because I'm going to try to do an interview with her. But we had a bee biologist. Her name is Dr. Kristen Trainer, come down from Maryland, where she works in an apiary lab up there, to speak with our Beekeepers Guild of Southeast Virginia. And she has 2 books. One is called 2 Million Blooms, and the other's it's a beekeeping book. But anyway, she was brilliant, and she had a lot of great ideas. She actually got Humboldt College, not in California or wherever it is, but Humboldt is in Europe, gave her a grant, and she went all over Europe studying how European beekeepers keep bees and how that's different from the way we do. And just the difference between their worlds and our world is amazing to me. Like in the Netherlands, the government will actually rent islands offshore to beekeepers. And then beekeepers can raise queens and have controlled mating on these islands because they're too far away to be polluted by other bees. Right. And it was just a fascinating look into how people do it differently and how, quite frankly, we could do it better.
All right. Well, it would be interesting to hear if you could get her for an interview. That would be great. We could put on the show.
Yeah, she's really busy. Like all brilliant people, she is just chock-a-block full. But I bought her 2 books, and they're excellent. It's Kristen, Kristen, Trainer, Traynor. And, she's one of those people that just puts everyone to shame. I admit I kind of fell in love with her. But, she's a PhD. She's a bee biologist. She does West Coast swing dancing. She has all these wonderful programs going. She writes a newsletter. She edits a magazine. And then, and she looks like, at my age, all doctors look young. But she looks like she's 12 years old. And you go, well, what have I been doing with my life? But I'm going to try to get her on, talk to her, and I might just do a side interview and I'll ship it to you because she said she'd be willing to do it, but you have to bug me. And I know when people say that, it means good luck, fella.
You just tell her you need 20 minutes of her time.
That's it. But anyway, her books are excellent, and I actually recommended to our bee group that we take her beekeeping book and use it as the manual for our introduction to beekeeping course. She really pares it down just to things you need to know. And she has a lot of great ideas in there and a lot of experience. She runs besides all the other things she does, she runs, I think 4 different apiaries. All
right. Well, good.
Okay. So what you got growing?
Hold on. I left something stuck in my throat, so you need to talk.
Oh. Well, I mentioned a while back, I think last show, that I bought a grow tent and had it out in the garage. And it's because this problem I had with my new LED light, grow light. It has a UV LED in it. And I realized last winter, sitting around staring at that UV LED as I'm sitting here in my office and working, I was probably screwing up my cataracts, which the doctor actually kind of confirmed. And so this grow light, it's Mylar, or this grow tent, it's Mylar lined inside, which is high reflective material. It's insulated, and you can zip it up so the light doesn't get to you. It also has a tray in the bottom so it doesn't leak. I put it out in the garage. It got down to 30 degrees. And when I looked inside, it was still, I think, 70 or 80 inside. So it's a really nice design. It cost me about $90 I bought it through the Garden Fork link and went to Amazon to get it.
Yay!
So sent you a little taste of that money. But it's working really great. I put my grow mat in there, my seedling mat with it. And my tomato sprouts are just popping up everywhere. And it's really they're getting big and bushy, and I'm having to reach in there and kind of rub them so that you can get them used to being blown by the wind. What do they call that? Hardening a little bit.
Yep.
And then I put a little tunnel fan in it, a little 4-inch fan, just to blow a little more oxygenated air because it was getting really high CO2 in there, I thought. So I wanted to kind of take care of it. And I'll probably be putting the tomatoes in the ground next week or a little bit after. And these are those wonderful University of Florida Cleelab tomatoes, Kleelab. You send them a little donation, and they will send you some of their latest hybrids. I have Treasure Gem, Garden Gem, and they have a new hybrid that they don't have a name for yet. And so I've got them all, the seeds all planted. I'll have 15 tomato plants, I think, this year.
And that's the ones with the high disease resistance.
Exactly. Very high disease resistance. But more importantly, they bred the taste back into these. And so they taste wonderful. It's like having a starburst on your tongue when you eat them. One of them is kind of a salad tomato. The other is more of a slicer. And frankly, I don't know how big the hybrid's going to be.
All right. Well, we'll hear more about that. I liked how it sounded like you had Big Ben going off in the background there.
Yeah, I talk with my hands. I hit the microphone and I chime. Can you hear that?
That's pretty good. Hey everyone, real quick, I just wanted to remind you and ask, basically, if you would consider supporting Garden Fork. There's a couple ways you can do that. It does take money and time for me to create all this stuff, and I love doing it, and I love sharing it, and I love that you guys like it. And if you had the time and the money, if you don't have the money, that's totally okay. There's a couple ways you can help Garden Fork. You can become one of our Patreon patrons. It's kind of like the PBS model where you do a monthly contribution to keep Garden Fork going. There's a link in our show notes about that. You can also go to patreon.com/gardenfork. Or you can help out Garden Fork when you shop on Amazon. The easiest way to do that is to use this URL. It's gardenfork.tv/Amazon. That will take you directly to Amazon with a little, I'm blanking on the thing, a little cookie thing that tells Amazon that you came from Garden Fork. And we get a little sales commission on your purchases. It doesn't affect the price that you guys pay, and it does help us. Gardenfork.tv/Amazon, or click on any of the Amazon ads on our website or in the iTunes podcast information section. There's always a little info section that comes with the podcast there. And there you go. You could help Garden Fork. All right, let's go back to the show. All right, so I didn't realize this, but you have kind of a fancy tub that broke.
Oh, yeah. When we sailed, my motto was a small boat and a suitcase full of money beats a 40-footer tied to a bank. And we kind of transferred that over to the house. We live in a fairly small house by current standards, but we've remodeled it. And one of the things we did was really remodel this spare bathroom. And it has the most wonderful spa tub. We just splurged on it because we both wanted it. And it has water jets and it has air jets, and you can run them both at the same time. And it's about 13, 14 years old now. And the pump on the blower side, the air jet side, went out. And I went back to the company, and it turns out that they don't make a replacement now that has the correct plug. It's 3 main plugs and then a 4th that I'm not even sure exactly what it does. And frankly, the company's not sure what they remember what it does.
It might be it might be to center it so that the polarity is correct.
No, they thought it. When I look at it, there are 4 wires in there, so there's something going on. And so I took the pump out, and I got really close to all I needed to do is replace the brushes. But they have them housed in this little these 2 plastic casings. And when I pulled one of the casings out, I was too rough and I broke it. Oh. And now I can't put the casing back in. And the brushes were in a unit that just slid into that casing and locked in. And when I was trying to get the lock part of it unlocked, I broke the damn thing. So I'm going to have to buy a new pump, but now I'm going to have to trace back the wires and try to figure out what all this does. And I'm kind of disappointed, but I got a lot of work ahead of me.
Yeah, actually, a lot of times when a motor goes out, it's the brushes that have started to fail. And I think a lot of circular saws and like I have a corded drill that you might notice sparks are flying out of it.
I noticed that.
And that usually suggests that it's the brushes, which are... they carry current to I think it's called the commutator, which is the end of the shaft of the motor windings.
Right.
And it transfers energy to those windings. And sometimes you can, Radio Shacks are closing, but you could go to Radio Shack or they might have them at the Blue Store or the Orange Store, is an electronic contact cleaner. And you can spray that on the armature shaft, the commutator, and the brushes, and try and clean it up, and that might fix the problem sometimes.
Now, in this case, the spring in the center that pushes the brushes against the commutator was actually protruding through the face of the brush. So it's pretty much dead.
Yeah, it's toast.
But most of the time you can clear it up. My reciprocating saw that I use for dirty work, like cutouts, and where you have to cut out beehives from inside of houses and that kind of thing when they're in the wall. Never buy good equipment and do that with it. You always go down to Harbor Freight or Northern Tool and buy the very cheapest piece of equipment you can get away with, because the honey runs down into the tool, it gums it up, it shorts it out. But I've got one. I replaced the reciprocating saw, and I replaced the brushes like 3 times on it. And so far it runs like a top, and it, damn thing only cost me $50 or so. I'm cussing all of a sudden. We don't do that on this show.
That's okay. Brushes, by the way, are just big pieces of carbon.
Yeah. And they're held against the part that turns inside by springs, and then they transmit the electricity.
And I kind of think that you might not be able to buy the exact brushes, online from a parts place, but you might be able to go to an old school hardware store where they have all those different drawers of odd parts.
Right.
And there's a drawer of brushes. And if you don't find the exact brush you need to replace something, you can actually file or sand down a brush head to fit what you need, because they're just carbon.
Right.
Wear a dust mask. Wear a dust mask, but you can file it down, or like with a little Dremel tool or a die grinder, you can grind it down to fit what you need. And they have usually in the back of it is attached a braided copper wire, and that's where the power goes, and it has a spring attached. And if you can get the machine open, like a circular saw or corded drill or something, and get to the brushes, you can probably just replace them, and boom, you're ready to go again.
Well, I could have done that, but I broke the housing that the brushes go in, that then you snap into the side of the motor.
Yeah.
So
A tangent on this is I am going to go to my sister's house and fix a generator that's been in a shed for 10 years. It came with the house that she
Oh,
got.
good luck with that.
Well, I know it won't start. So last time I was there, I took pictures of the motor identification
Right.
plates, I guess they're called. And it's a Briggs and Stratton engine. And the ID numbers can be one of several places on the engine. Sometimes it's on a piece of metal housing. Sometimes it's on the engine casing itself. But just find all the numbers you can on the engine and take pictures of them. And I came back here and I went to repairclinic.com, which is a pretty good site for finding arcane parts because I typed in the engine number and it listed out a carb, and the carburetor is no longer made, but Briggs & Stratton sells a multi-purpose carburetor that fits like 15 obsolete carburetors.
Oh, wow.
And I double checked it with another site where there was more of a discussion group. You know, they have the reviews at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, yeah, this 519378 fits a multitude of engine, Briggs & Stratton engines. So that will be coming in the mail, and I'll be making a video about that because I'll be visiting my sister soon. And I hope it'll fire up in the first pull for the camera, but we'll see.
Well, did the engine actually turn? Did you pull it and make sure it wasn't frozen?
It'll turn over. I actually went and bought engine starting fluid.
Yeah.
And it will fire. So that tells me it's a fuel problem. And if it's been sitting for years, the carb is gummed up, and you could rebuild the carb, yeah, but there's so many tiny little parts, and if you lose a part, and if you don't get the jets back in properly, I'd rather have something that's already jetted and just I'll bolt it on.
Right, and that's when my I have a Toro, and when the Briggs and Stratton on it went out, and it was gummed up, I just went down and bought a new at the I think it was the Orange store, and just bought a new carb off the rack and slapped it on. It took me maybe 30 minutes to do the whole thing. So, saved me a lot of money. And this time of year, you take your lawnmower to one of the professional lawnmower service places. You'll see it in August because they're really backed up now.
We have a video, of course, about tuning up your lawnmower for the spring.
And I looked at it before I started mine up. Got a new plug. I sharpened the blade. I cleaned out underneath the deck, which I should have done a long time ago. But this time I remembered to set it up with some, what is that stuff you put in the tank?
Gas stabilizer.
Stabilizer.
Which I say every podcast. That's right. I say that word every podcast.
And, I got it going, and it runs like a top. So I appreciate the update on it.
Yeah. So what's this about you and your salad dressing?
Oh, I'm doing a lot of things new, different. One of them is I've started making my own yogurt. And what prompted this is I read an article, and it said that most commercial yogurts, they put in there as probiotics what grows well, not necessarily the ones that you need.
For your gut.
For your gut. And I thought, well, now that's interesting. So I went down to the Gucci health food store and found in a cooler section over there a jar of capsules of live probiotics, and I was comparing what they offered to what was in most of the yogurts, and there was a substantial difference.
Yep.
And so I bought one of their natural yogurts, and then I bought this bottle of probiotics. Yeah, but it's all kinds of other things. But when you read the names, they're a whole bunch different.
Yep.
And went home, and I have a little yogurt maker, 6 cups. It's really easy to do. And so I started making my own yogurt. So that's one thing. And then I also feed the yogurt because you need to feed it so it'll have something to grow on when you put the milk in and whatnot. I feed it with my own natural honey, raw honey. So it's all nice and set up. But then I started looking at my the door of your refrigerator, and it's got all this stuff on it. And there are like 7 commercial salad dressings there. And I said, boy, this is really stupid. And you read what's in them and you go, that can't be good for you. That can't be good for you. Oh, this doesn't look very good at all.
Corn syrup,
Yeah, really. And so I have started making my own salad dressing using one of those. The brand I have is Wishbone. You buy the little carafe with the white top, and then you're
Yeah.
supposed to have a packet of stuff you put inside for flavoring. Then you add your own oil and vinegar. That got me to thinking. I just use, a good balsamic vinegar and my really good olive oil. I use a big dollop of mustard, not
Yep.
yellow mustard, but a Dijon kind of
Like a
mustard,
brown mustard. Yeah.
right? And occasionally, I heard your powder, your protein powder came from Trader Joe's. I've been going to Trader Joe's a lot lately, and they make a white balsamic vinegar. And so you can use that. It tastes lighter and not as sharp as regular vinegars, but it doesn't give you that cloudy look, that kind of yucky, muddy look. And so it works really well. And I forgot where I was going with this. Anyway, you mix it all together just using the proportions that are on the back of that little carafe. And I'll pour it out into my stick blender. I'll blend it all together. The mustard acts as emulsifier.
Yep.
So it holds things in suspension, and it turns out to be one of the better sauces or salad dressings we've had. And if you're really daring, you throw one clove of garlic into the bottom of it when you hit with stick blender, and it turns out really nice and spicy. It's flavorful. It does congeal when you put it in the refrigerator, but if you give it maybe 3 seconds in the microwave, no more, it liquefies again. And it's got to be better for you than all the xanthans, gums and starches and the carbohydrates and whatnot. And then you can have once you kind of get the idea, you go down, well, this pomegranate vinegar, that sounds kind of interesting. I'll try some of that instead.
Yep.
Or Trader Joe's has some sort of orange and champagne vinegar that is wonderful. Gives it a nice, light, fruity flavor. If you go to allrecipes.com, they have an app. They have a lot of these recipes for all kinds of different salad dressings you can make yourself, and that you don't have to be buying the stuff off the shelf.
Cool. Yeah, I make salad dressing almost every night. I can do it in my sleep now. But it's just olive oil, balsamic vinegar, salt and pepper, and like a teaspoon of mustard, and boom. And you can add in other things, but the trick is, we've talked about this before, but a lot of the grocery store olive oils I think are suspect.
Well, I think they're more than suspect.
Right, but we don't want to get sued by the olive oil people. So
Big oil.
yeah. But you can buy that at Trader Joe's. They have it, and also at Whole Foods. They'll have like an olive oil from California, and that's actually an oil that is much less likely adulterated.
It's California Estates, and Consumer Report rated that the best olive oil available. It was number one.
Yeah, and that you use for salad. You don't cook with that. You don't dump that in your cast iron pan and then throw some onions in, because you're just wasting a very expensive oil. But as a salad oil, it's perfect. And yeah, the balsamic vinegar, you can do a balsamic reduction. You can take the store-bought stuff and cook it down a little bit in a small pan. Mm-hmm. And it thickens, and it actually intensifies the flavor. And I think that works better. And yeah, that's my basic salad dressing. It also is really good on lentils. Like you get lentils and broccoli. You cook lentils and then steam broccoli or microwave the broccoli and put it on top, and you just drizzle some of your salad dressing on there, homemade salad dressing, and that's dinner.
Yeah, yeah. We kind of like a variety of salad dressings, and so we try to mix it up. But I've been really happy with this, and it's just has to be better for you. And boy, I've got a lot of. I'm growing some lettuce now. Romaine only, and it's coming up. Pretty soon we'll have tomatoes, growing lots of basil. I don't make my own cheese, so I'll buy some cheese, I guess. But I'm looking forward to all the wonderful salads this time of year.
Cool. All right, so one last thing, you wanted to talk about the Gentle Leader leash that we both use.
Yeah. Sometime back, we were talking about the gentle leader. And if just to recap briefly, it's a little harness that goes under the chin and fastens in that knot behind the ears of the dog, just goes around. And then it has a loop that goes over the dog's muzzle and a clip where you can clip it on. So you can tighten on the muzzle. And when the dog surges ahead, you have that control point where, one, you kind of close their mouth a little bit, and they don't like that, but they turn almost automatically. It's like having them on a string. And if you have a dog that pulls really hard or surges or
Yes.
or whatnot, yeah, it really helps control the dog. Well, I have little Bhutan. She's a little rescue got from St. Louis, and she's the loveliest of dogs. But she just has this, when she wanders to explore. And she doesn't like the gentle leader. She was shaking her head, and somehow she developed enough centrifugal force to get that plunger on the clip to come undone when she shook her head. And she was gone. And she is one of the fastest dogs I've ever seen. She's more border terrier than anything else. They're long and leggy.
Huh.
And she was out onto a busy street and crossed 4 lanes of traffic. And then I didn't know this. Guy told me later. He saw her and he just stopped in the middle of the intersection and opened his door, and she hopped right in. Yeah. I've always told my dogs, I said, when somebody stops and they offer you a hot dog, you got to look beyond the hot, that hot dog. What is the retirement plan? What are the work conditions? Where are you going to sleep? You just don't take the hot dog. But she hopped right in the car with him and took off. And he saved her because she had 4 more streets of or lanes of traffic to cross. And so it scared me to death. But what I've done now is attached a webbing, small webbing onto the leash itself in the closed part that you can't open. And then I've run it to another hook that's on her collar. And so now I have 2 hooks on her. And if she throws this one again on the gentle leader, I still have control of the dog. Because the sweet little thing, I would have been devastated if she got hit.
Wow, good to know. Yeah, my dogs have not managed to knock it off. There's a whole video, several videos about how to fit it and how to get the dogs used to it, but it is a really good product.
It's a great product, but you just kind of have to be careful. And she just done this to me before. Bringing her back from Louisville, I had like 4 dogs in the car, and I was going to stop for the night in Stanton, Virginia. And I thought, well, maybe it's time to give them a chance to take a leak. And so I let them out of the car. We're in this big grassy area. And somehow she backed out of her harness that she was in. And she took off. She ran across 4 lanes of traffic, across the median, across 4 lanes of traffic, ran down 1 block, and came back across 8 lanes of traffic and ran right up to me and sat down. I said, boy, this dog is blessed,
Yeah.
I just knew she was gone.
Wow.
So, anyway, you can't just trust dogs, At least not terriers.
Yeah, Labradors are a little easier. They like food.
Yeah.
All right, well, cool.
Okay, well, listen, I've got plenty to do today. What are you going to do?
I have to go move the car. It's New York City.
Every time we call, you're having to move the car. Okay, well, I think we talked about plenty. People have gotten to where they may want to be or need to be by now. So how about if we wrap this up and we'll do it again soon?
Right. Thanks, everyone. We will see you later.
Okay, talk to you later, my friend.
Garden Fork's theme music is licensed from uniquetracks.com.